Welcome back to Pick My Brain podcast. I am your host, Mr. Chan. Well, this is part 2 of episode 4. And when I first planned on having this episode 4, I did not think about breaking it down into 4 separate parts. But after recording it, it was a bit too long. And I think it's very important for listeners to address each of these 4 major questions. Again, the first question is, what is and what is not passion? And number 2, why is passion important? Which is going to be the focus of this episode. And then part 3 and part 4, it's going to address the other 2 questions. What will happen if you don't have passion? And why is it important to find your passion as early as possible? Because of the significance of each of these questions, I decided that it will be to your benefit to have 4 separate parts so that you would not be overwhelmed and you can digest the materials bit by bit so that you have time to reflect, to think, and to, just brainstorm a little bit about what your passion is or could be. And then maybe you have more actions or more thoughts about them. And I think it's very important. So without further ado, now let's go on to part 2 of episode 4. Now, on to the second major question that we'll focus on today is, why is passion important? Now, some parents, same thing as my parents, my mom, she would say, well, the whole goal of getting education is to make money and to have a good life, a stable life, right? Yeah, I got that part, okay? And I think a lot of Asian students, Asian parents, they would feel the same thing, okay? A lot of Asian students were told the same thing, right? I think there are a few misconceptions out there. So let me go ahead, start off this question, or start off answering this question by addressing some major misconceptions. So number 1 misconception is that people would just ignore passion. Okay, people would just follow the money, follow other people's path. Like my mom would tell me this, like, look at so and so, whoever. Look at him. Look at her. They do so great, right? Like they are so wealthy. Like just follow them. Okay. One time I was in Brazil, having my pretty much the only solo travel that I've ever had. And by the way, travel, it's a very unique experience. So if you have time to travel, do travel and see more things. And I was at a school, actually. I was living in a hostel, and there was a history teacher also staying in a hostel. He works there. He stays there. Well, he worked there. He stayed there. And unfortunately, he passed away during COVID. But when I visited Brazil, my friend Paulo, he's a history teacher. He said, hey, William, would you be interested to visit my school? Well, just to let you know, my school is not anything fancy. It's just a very average, poor school. And I was like, great. I would love to visit his school. That's from Brazil, because that is a very unique experience. And that is something that I've never dreamed of. So we took buses, we transferred a couple of times, and I arrived at his school, and I had a little Q&A with his students, and I was so fortunate to have this opportunity to share my views, to share my insights. I'm not sure if this podcast would ever arrive at the ears of the students from whom I interacted with, but if fate brings us together, I would love to say hi to them. But anyhow, so there was an art teacher, and we were just talking, chatting. And this art teacher said, like, the whole dream thing, the whole passion thing, it's fake, it's useless, it's not useful. And that is very much similar to what I've heard in Hong Kong. People don't care about passion. People just care about money. And I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think money is important, but passion is superior. So, of course, I'm not going to argue with that teacher, but I realized something, and that is, if you don't focus on passion at your earliest stage of life, the cost of finding your passion or the cost of pursuing your passion, it's going to be greater over time. And I got more to share about this in a moment, but yeah, people just ignore passion, and that's not okay. And the reason is that with passion, as I said earlier, there will be sacrifice. And you will have so many questions to ask. And because of these questions would make you special, and special in a way because you are exceptional, you are great, you are excellent. So passion is what leads to excellence. Think about this. Without passion, you would just be a 9-to-5 worker. And now, in the year of 2025, with the emergence of AI, people without passion will be the first group of people to be replaced by AI because they are not producing anything unique and irreplaceable. So this is the first misconception, that people ignore passion. They think passion is not important, that it's not the right idea, okay? The second common misconception is that don't have a job that it's also your passion. My godmother told me when I was in middle school, my godmother said this. She said, if you have your passion as your job, as your career, there's a risk. And the risk is the moment you hate your job, you hate your career, you hate your passion, and then you would just live a sad life. Now, I understand where she's coming from. Okay, she's trying to protect me, trying to have a good life, happy life, right? But I would tell all my listeners this. Ready? You may hate your job, you may hate your boss, you may hate your supervisor, you may hate your colleague, but your passion is a different thing. Like, I do not like to work in a public school because of the way it sets up. Like, I used to teach 6 periods a day. If I have a single prep, that means I'm teaching 6 times a day on the same thing. Now, if I have 2 preps, 2 subjects, then I'll be teaching a split of classes. That makes my life a little bit better because I'm not repeating myself 6 times a day, but at the same time, I just doubled my work, and yet the pay is exactly the same. I've seen teachers who teach like languages, like they are the Spanish teacher, they are the Japanese teachers, they are the Chinese teacher, and they teach all levels, like 4 levels maybe. So they need to prep 4 times the materials that I did, and yet they get the same pay, and that's just not fair. Okay, that's just not fair. Like, we have 7 periods a day and we teach 6 out of 7. Each period is like 50 minutes long and we get 1 planning period. That's not even enough time to grade papers. And I often have to use my own personal time to grade, and that is not going to get me extra pay. And that's a problem. I hated the lifestyle that I had when I was a public school teacher. But I didn't hate teaching. I still love teaching very much. It's just that the obligation, the style of teaching, it's very monotonous and I just don't like it. And that's why I opened up my own learning center and I call my own shots, and I enjoyed my life very much right now. Okay, again, more on that in the future. I have a lot to share with you about my little entrepreneurial venture right here in Sugar Land, Texas. Okay. So not having your work as a passion, it's a misconception. You need to, well, as Dr. Palumbi said, do something that you love to do and someone will pay you because you do excellent work. And one thing that is also true, and that is that people often think like, oh, we want to get the cheapest stuff. Yes, I get that. I shop around, I try to get the cheapest stuff possible. But that's one thing that you ought to understand. And the same thing that I said about Mac computers versus Windows computers. You pay for the quality. You pay what you get. Now, of course, the assumption right here is nobody's scamming anybody right here, okay? So you get paid for what you can provide. If you can solve problems, you get paid. Like when you have some sort of major illness, You wouldn't go out there and say, well, let me go ahead and find the cheapest doctor. You don't get the cheapest doctor. You get the doctor who can solve your problem. And to do that, well, the cost could be a little bit higher. But of course, that doesn't mean that when you pay more, it's necessarily better. So that's why you need to know your stuff. You need to learn, you need to do your research to equip yourself with some basic knowledge so that you don't get scammed. So that's why, like, I remember Dr. Palumbi's approach so well, because I am living that statement right now, that somebody's paying me to do something that I love to do. So don't forget that, okay? Now, the third misconception is that, well, money is way more important than passion. Now, I find this very interesting to discuss, okay? Number one, I understand why, in particular, Asian parents, they think money is way more important than passion, because they would think like, well, passion doesn't pay, but money pays, right? If you have money, you can pursue all your passion, okay? But if you don't have money, you cannot pursue your passion. Now, that would be the scenario where somebody who's working a well-paying job, but then they have some other passion. But then, as I said earlier, if you do not work on your passion, your job, despite being highly paid, you might not do a very great job, okay? But you get paid a lot, yes. Now, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why in just a moment. I'm gonna say this in my third question, but I can give you a little bit of a background idea or a little example. I've got a friend. Well, actually, I got a couple of friends, and I know at least one student who fall into this category. They get paid a lot, and they don't like their job. And what's going to happen? They become alcoholic. Now, this concerns a very special topic called flow. If you go on Google and search flow, along with flow, you can also search optimal experience. I would also share some links in the description. There are some TED Talk videos that I can share with you too. I tell my students, if you understand flow, you understand life. Okay, but I will elaborate more on flow in the third segment, which is what will happen if you don't have passion. Okay, but what I'm saying is this. Okay, to tackle this third misconception, when you make a lot of money and that job, it's not your passion, it's gonna make you do some negative things or stupid things, and there are a lot of examples out there. So, is money important? Yes. And if you want to have a good life, then start early, find your passion, and make your passion as a job. Just like what Dr. Palumbi said. Do something that you love to do, and someone will pay you to do that thing that you love to do. Remember this. And I want to give you an analogy right here. And it's a very apt analogy. I remember I was discussing this with my students back in the days, in my early years of teaching. So here's an analogy. So now I'm just going to do this generalization, right? Asian parents, they are money driven, okay? Of course, it's an oversimplification, but whatever. So let's just say, people, Asian parents, they are money driven. So what I'm going to say about this analogy is like this. You are trying to climb a mountain, okay? And once you hit the pinnacle, the top of the mountain, you'll be like, oh yeah, I get to the top. Great, right? You climb the ladder, you climb up to the mountain. Now, but understand this. You have to carry all the baggages along with the money that you're trying to make to the top of the mountain. And that is difficult, all right? You are working against gravity. That's difficult. Now, on the contrary, the Western kind of mindset is that you are just digging deeper and deeper for your passion. You learn more, you discover more. Like, look at all the professors in the universities. They have been in the universities for like 10 years, 20 years. Like, they do their research for their entire life. Why? Guess what? That's their passion. There's so much to discover. So when you dig deeper and deeper, well, guess what? Money will just flow down to you. You don't even need to ask for the money because the money will just go down because of gravity. Now, I'm very proud of my analogy right here because it gives you the very good perception of how life works or how money works. When you focus on the quality, not the money, money will come to you naturally. Now, and I want to emphasize one thing, and that is, well, what do you mean by whatever you love to do? I do mean this literally. I think that's the same thing what Dr. Palumbi said. Like when my son was born early on, and I was trying to show him some cool YouTube videos, and I forgot the YouTube channel, but there was a YouTube channel about flipping bottles or throwing things, and it's difficult, but hey, they are great at it, and the YouTube channel got like millions of subscribers. I'm not sure if you heard of a little kid. Well, back in the days, his name is Ryan, and he had a YouTube channel with his parents to unbox toys, to talk about toys. It's a huge franchise. So these are solid evidence, examples to show what? If you do whatever you love to do, money comes to you naturally. Of course, you want money, but you do not focus on money primarily. I have no idea if this YouTube channel will be monetized at all. I'm doing it for a couple reasons. Number one, I need to share what I've learned with my students. And two, if you listen to episode 0, there's one core mission of this channel. I need to duplicate and document myself so that if I unfortunately pass away prematurely, I got something to share with my son when he grows up in the future. That's what I'm focusing on. If I could make some money out of it, great. But I do not care at this moment because I care more about the substance than anything else. So that concludes why passion is important, because passion is what drives you to excellence. You don't have passion, your work will not be excellent. Your work, your performance will not be exceptional. If you don't have passion, you will be replaceable, and it would come fast with AI. So that concludes my second question. Why is passion important? Thank you for listening to episode 4, part 2 of our 4-part series. When we come back next week, we are going to investigate yet another very important question, and that is, what will happen if you don't have passion? Now, I would like to add a few words at the end of this episode, and that is, I believe that passion is both a necessity and it is a luxury. It is a necessity because you have to have passion to live your life. If not, it would just be empty. If you don't have passion, the consequence will be dire. The outcome could be disastrous. And you'll be constantly asking yourself, what is the purpose of life? Why am I here? It is a luxury because not everyone gets to find it. And it is, of course, ideal to have your passion as early as possible, but we all have our own fate. We all have our own timeline to discover this wonderful treasure that's called passion. As I said in the previous episode, I did not get to find my own passion until my 3rd year of college. Now, the way I put it may sound like it's a very passive act, but it's actually quite the opposite. Now that you're listening to this episode, now you have an official mission, and that is, you have to find and confirm your passion. You cannot stay away from this destination, this path. You are on it right now, and you have to have a very honest conversation with yourself. What do you want to do in the next 5 years, next 10 years, and possibly for the rest of your life? What's your big direction? And ultimately, ask yourself, will you be a truly happy and satisfied person when you embark on this journey? I hope you liked today's episode. And if you're not a subscriber yet, please join us. Be a subscriber of Pick My Brain podcast. If you like this episode, please don't forget to click like. And if you believe that somebody else, maybe your friends, your peers, or even your relatives, could make some good use of this episode, well, guess what? Don't forget to share this episode with your loved ones. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to see you next week in episode 4, part 3, what will happen if you don't have passion. See you. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.